Virginia Institute of Marine Science, including a simulated shark tagging experience based on actual Virginia shark research, STEM and coding activities, Lego shipbuilding, 3D printed ship giveaways, historic and cultural exhibits from the Library of Virginia, the Norfolk Historical Society, and Discovering Homicide. Live river creatures and conservation programs from the Project and art and music experiences from the Chrysler Museum of Art.
Now I gotta tell me, that's what I wanted to do here.
Of the Tuskegee Air, all in one place. There's also an adopted statewide education program that connected Virginia classrooms with the actual crews of the vessels you'll be watching sail right past us soon. And this is before they ever arrived in Virginia. Now some pretty remarkable things. And around the festival grounds today, keep an eye out for the costume living history interpreters. They'll find you and bring their stories to your attention so that you get to hear and see items like the Discovery Day is free for festival attendance for families, for students, for anyone who wants this weekend to be more than just a beautiful view. It's all right here behind us and beyond us. As he said, Shows past the viewing stand, it's worth knowing that for thousands of Virginia residents and students, today is the culmination of months, and I would say a few years of preparation, because many of the ships that you were watching sail right past us have already been adopted by the Virginia classrooms. Sail to Virginia's adopted ship program connected dozens of schools, wholesale co-ops, youth groups, and civic organizations representing upwards of 5,000 schools across the world. With the actual crews of these missing vessels, long before these ships ever entered Virginia's waters, students were exchanging their scholars and learning about their home country, their maritime traditions, and their culture. Today, some of those students are here on the waterfront, welcoming the very crew that they've been writing to. Some participating groups will have the opportunity to march alongside their adopted cruise ship in the Parade of Cadets on Sunday. That is a memory those kids will carry for the rest of their lives. But the education piece goes well beyond the diamond ship. Sail 250 Virginia assembled more than 200 curated online resources, 100 books and full suite of multimedia materials for teachers and families, from coloring books for the youngest learners all the way to mock United Nations maritime simulations for high schoolers. Earlier this year, a 3-night speaker series explored pivotal moments in Hampton Roads history, from George Washington's victory at Yorktown to the Underground Railroad's water routes to Norfolk's role in World War II. The ships in this parade are teachers too, and Virginia students have been paying attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, the tugboat that Rosemary McAllister just went by along with the Old Dominion. And today's parade of sail includes a majestic fleet of 30 tall ships, vessels from our maritime services, and recreational boaters from Hampton Roads community. The tall ships sailing here today represent the USA and 15 other countries. The United States Coast Guard Bark Eagle, right here in front of us at the reviewing stand. was built in Hamburg, Germany in 1936 as the Horst vessel. She was taken as a war reparation after World War II, renamed, and commissioned as the training vessel of the United States Coast Guard Academy. Today she trains midshipmen from the Academy and candidates from the USCG Officer Candidate School while representing the United States and the U.S. Coast Guard during goodwill voyages throughout the world. Eagle sails with a crew of 8 officers, 50 enlisted personnel, augmented each summer by up to 150 midshipmen or OCS candidates. The crew handles more than 5 miles of rigging and 22,000 square feet of canvas to sail Eagle to ports around the world. She is the only active duty square rigger in the United States military that sails on international voyages. She is nicknamed America's Tall Ship. Eagle is participating in all 5 Sail 250 festivals this summer: New Orleans, Virginia, Baltimore, New York, and Boston, as well as port visits along the Atlantic coast in Savannah, Pensacola, Charleston, Portland, Newport, and Greenport. And the Eagle is home ported in Newport, or New London, Connecticut. Escorting the Coast Guard Eagle today, the Arctic Tern and Blue Goose, 2 40-foot looter yawls operated by the Navy Patuxent Sailing Club. The Navy Club is based at the Naval Air Station, Patuxent River, Maryland. The Navy Patuxent Sailing Club provides recreational sailing opportunities to active duty and retired servicemen and women from all branches of our armed services. Many civilian employees of the Department of War also participate. A yawl is a 2-masted sailboat with a conspicuously shorter mizzenmast stepped behind the rudder post. The Looter's 44 yawls were originally designed specifically for the United States Naval Academy as sail training vessels. Production of the first 12 wooden boats began in 1939 for the Naval Academy, where they also became known as Navy Yawls, or Annapolis 44s. Later, beginning in 1963, an otherwise identical fiberglass model was produced for both the Naval Academy and the Coast Guard Academy. The club is pleased to have 4 of these later fiberglass models, which were transferred from the Coast Guard Academy in 2012, when the Academy upgraded their training fleet with newer boats. The Navy Club has been participating in Harbor Fest for over 30 years. Virginia is thrilled to welcome the United States Navy's very own flight demonstration team, the Blue Angels of Norfolk. The vision for the Blue Angels came from Chief of Naval Operations Chester Nimitz, who in 1946 wanted a Navy flight exhibition team to raise awareness and appreciation for naval aviation. Over the years, the Blue Angels have flown a variety of aircraft, including the F-6 Hellcat, the F-9 Cougar, the F-4 Phantom, A-4 Skyhawk, and now the legendary F-18 Super Hornet.
The next tall ship is the parade is Jamestown Settlement's Godspeed, right across from us now. A recreation, one of the 3 ships that brought the first English colonists to Jamestown in May of 1607. The original Godspeed sailed with the larger bark Susan Constant and the smaller square topsail ketch Discovery. The 3 ships collectively carried 140 men and boys to Virginia. The Godspeed sailed the East Coast as part of Jamestown's 400th anniversary. Escorting the Godspeed are Sail Nauticus vessels. Nauticus fleet have harbored 20 sailboats. Sail Nauticus is a community sailing center operated as part of the Nauticus Foundation. Programs include the Sailing Academy, adult sailing memberships, skills clinics, group outings, and summer camps. Located on the Nauticus campus along the Elizabeth River, Sail Nauticus also offers corporate outings, field trips, and volunteer opportunities. Sail Nauticus was founded in 2013 with the goal of getting underserved youth exposed to sailing, maritime sciences, and maritime careers. The cornerstone program is the Sail Academy that serves 5th to 8th graders, students from the Norfolk Public Schools.
The schooner Virginia is a recreation of the last all-sail vessel built for the Virginia Pilot Association, sailing for the VPA between 1917 and 1926. The original schooner was designed to train apprentice pilots holding station at Cape Henry and sailing in the lower Chesapeake Bay, while transferring pilots to and from steam vessels. A distinctive feature of this boat is that she is a knockabout schooner, which means she was designed without a bowsprit. The bowsprit is the spar that sticks out from the bow, the front of a sailboat to attach some of the head sail rigging. So why build a boat without one? This was an innovation from fishing schooners in the North Atlantic around 1902. Handling all the head sails from the deck was safer for the working crew on such a ship on cold, wintry conditions. The recreated schooner Virginia was designed by Tri-Coastal Marine and built right here in Norfolk, launched in December of 2005. As part of the Virginia Maritime Heritage Foundation, the schooner sailed the waters of the Chesapeake Bay from the East Coast to Bermuda and into the Caribbean, taking Virginia students and adults to sea to learn seamanship, navigation, and leadership skills. NJROTC cadets from across the Commonwealth, including all 5 Norfolk units, participated in these programs, as did public and private school groups from all throughout Hampton Roads. In 2015, Virginia was purchased by the Sail Nauticus Foundation and is now used to support its programming while conducting day sails in the Elizabeth River. Captain Michael Fiorentino leads a handful of professional mariners and a small dedicated group of volunteers to Sail Virginia. All right, Lafayette Lounge 2 is a 44-foot Tiara built in 2019 and is captained by Jim Toby Mills, a lifelong resident of Norfolk. This is her second time participating in a parade of sailing to Norfolk. Deborah Lee is under the command of Robert Schlegel and is a 46-foot Chesapeake built in 2011. This is the vessel's inaugural parade of sails.
Ladies and gentlemen, did you know that Norfolk Harbor Fest is the longest running free maritime festival in the country? 50 years. Now here's something worth knowing. None of what you see today or have seen over the past 49 years would exist were it not for a single Norwegian tall ship. In 1976, Norfolk hosted one of the ships heading to Operation Sail during the U.S. bicentennial celebration in New York City. The Christian Radic, a stunning tall ship from Norway, sailed into Hampton Roads and drew 13,000 visitors over a single weekend. The response was so overwhelming that city planners took notice. Downtown Norfolk lacked proper waterfront facilities at the time, and that the crowd made the case. The result was the development of Town Point Park and the modern waterside district, the very ground you're walking on this weekend. The first official annual event, Harbor Fest 77, debuted the following summer and it has returned every June since then. 5 decades of tall ships, fireworks, live music, and community gatherings on the waterfront. 50 years of Norfolk showing up to its harbor, and of the harbor showing up for Norfolk.
Today's parade of sail is sharing the Norfolk waterfront with something equally powerful and equally significant: Juneteenth. Juneteenth, of course, marks June 19, 1865, the day enslaved people in Texas finally received word that they were free, more than 2 years after issuing the Emancipation Proclamation of January 1st, 1863. It is one of the most profound dates in American history, and since 2021, it has been recognized as a federal holiday.
And now you see the German Navy sail training ship, the Norfolk. It holds a position of honor at the head of the international ships participating in Sail 250 Virginia. This reflects Germany's place as the very first country to accept an invitation for their tall ship to participate in Sail 250 Virginia back in November of 2021. Their arrival continues a long history of Norfolk visiting Norfolk. The Norfolk is the 6th ship of its class built at the famous Blom and Voss shipyard in Hamburg, Germany, and the second vessel to hold the name Norfolk. The first Norfolk was built in 1933 and is now a museum ship in Stralsund, Germany. Horse vessel Albert Leo Schwangetter and Mircha followed in 1936, 37, and 38. These 4 ships were taken as war reparations by the Allies during World War II. All of Norfolk's sister ships, except the original namesake, are participating in today's Sail 250 Virginia Beach, Virginia Parade of Sail. The horse vessel is now the U.S. Coast Guard Clark Eagle, Albert Leo Schwangetter, and is now the NRP Sagres from Portugal, and the NS Machine sails for the Romanian Navy. After World War II, the German Navy wanted a new sailing vessel to train their midshipmen and built this second Norfolk in 1958. Since construction, she has sailed more than 880,000 nautical miles, made 515 port visits to 200 different ports in 60 countries and on every continent. The ship is named after German author Johann Wilhelm Kinau, who wrote under the pen name Norfolk. Kinau was born near the Elbe River and was the son of a fisherman. Author of poems and stories about life on the sea, Kinau served in the German army on the eastern and western fronts of World War I before he transferred to the German Navy. He was killed in action at the Battle of Jutland in 1916. Ladies and gentlemen, the Norfolk and the HSWMS Laudan are being escorted by the Old Point Comfort Yacht Club, which was founded in 1956 and has its home base at Fort Monroe, next to the 37 North Marina. The club has an active membership that participates in racing, cruising, social events, education, and support for the local Sea Scouts. During the winter months, the club offers free educational lectures on Saturday mornings, known as Pointer Maritime University. Each year the club competes with the other armed services yacht clubs in the Tri-Service Cup. The club also co-sponsors the Dana Dillon Memorial New Year's Madness Yacht Race and the Round the Light races, which circle both large lighthouses in Hampton Roads.
Moving along right in line is the Her Majesty Swedish ship Flyby. Sweden has a long history of sail training in their navy, dating back to 1796 with the HMS Diana. HSWMS Gladden represents the latest chapter in that history. Gladden was built in 1946 and based on the lines of traditional Baltic pilot vessels. Gladden and her sister ship Falcon from the Swedish Navy's schooner squadron, Gladden means red light. bird of prey common in Southwest Sea, and Falcon, as you might guess, means falcon.
That's perfect. I thought
Two
that.
topsail schooners take cadets and midshipmen to sea in order navigation, seamanship, and leadership in a challenging environment to provide well-educated officers to the Swedish warships. In the summertime, the ship is manned with young trainees from colleges, the Swedish Seacat Corps, and officers from the Navy who sail with military cadets. Today marks the Swedish midsummer holiday, recognizing the summer solstice and the season of light. The holiday is celebrated with flower wreaths and the maypole. It blends traditional folklore and modern outdoor traditions. Traditional Swedish foods for midsummer include pickled herring, new potatoes, strawberry cake, and schnapps. Keep an eye out at the crew of the Globen is celebrating later. They are home ported in Karlskrona, Sweden. Yes, these ships are spectacular, but as the sun goes down tonight, the waterfront comes alive in a whole different way. Tonight kicks off 3 days of live music on the main stage at Tom Boyne Park. Gets set to celebrate Juneteenth and day one of the Norfolk Harbor Fest 50th anniversary in Sail 2 Bend. This evening, Sister Sledge, featuring Sledgendary, opens things up at 6 o'clock. We Are Family, He's the Greatest Dancer, Lost in Music, these are songs that do not let stand still. Then at 8 p.m., the incomparable Patti LaBelle takes the stage. More than 60 years into one of the most celebrated careers in American music. She is still one of their greatest live performers anywhere. Tonight is going to be something. Tomorrow's headliner, Saturday at 8:15, 2015, Fitz and the Tantrums bring their high-energy, soul-popping sound to the waterfront. And at 6:30 Sunday evening, J.J. Gray and Lofro close out the weekend with the kind of raw, soulful groove that reminds you why live music matters. 3 days, 7 stages of live entertainment, truly something for everyone. And on both tonight and Saturday night, the sky over the Elizabeth River lights up with 2 of the largest fireworks displays on the entire East Coast.
So in other words, we have tall ships this afternoon and Patti LaBelle tonight. And then of course fireworks tonight and tomorrow night. This is a fabulous weekend.
Now, if you're looking for something to add to your plans for tomorrow or Sunday, listen up, because this is not an opportunity that comes around often. This weekend, as part of Fleet Fest 2026 in Sail 250, Virginia, the public has a chance to visit Naval Station Norfolk and tour several U.S. Navy and international military vessels. That's this Saturday and Sunday, June 20th and June 21st, from 11 a.m. until 5 p.m. You'll have the chance to step aboard and tour U.S. Navy and international military warships docked here at the world's largest naval base. This is a rare thing, and it is completely free, but there are certain requirements and rules. Here are the main points. First, access to the base is by shuttle bus only. No personal vehicles. Shuttle buses depart from the Sail 250 shuttle lot at the foot of Colley Avenue and Front Street. Second, base security is real security.
Testing.
Okay, second, we mentioned base security is real security, so if you're 18 or older and a U.S. citizen, you'll need a real ID. Non-U.S. citizens will need a passport. Third, these are working warships, not museum replicas. So here are a couple of important things to keep in mind once you're aboard. Closed-toed shoes are required. No sandals, no flip-flops. Leave the large backpacks and totes behind. Small purses and bags are fine, but everything is subject to search. You'll be navigating steep ladder wells and moving about the ship on your own, so come ready for that. If you want to know more, ask at the shuttle bus tent at Front Street or call 757-438-4245. 757-438-4245. You can also visit sail250virginia.com.
Coming up on our right, or the starboard, is the French training ship. Laval is the sail training vessel of the French Navy. It is the fourth French naval vessel to carry the name, including a 1766 frigate that fought a famous duel with the British, and an 1834 ship that transported Napoleon's remains back to France. This schooner was built in 1932 and is based at the French Pompeian-style fishing vessels, which were used by French sailors to fish for cod in the waters off Iceland. 86 years ago, today, Laval Pool and her sister ship, L'Atoll, arrived in Falmouth, England, having escaped France just ahead of the German army during World War II. Throughout the war, the two ships served as training vessels for the Free French Naval Forces, coming under attack multiple times before returning to France in September 1945. In recognition of the ship's role as part of the Free French Navy, both schooners still fly the Free French Naval Forces Cross of Lorraine flag as a jack on their bowsprits when docked. Since World War II, Laval Pool has undergone several major refits, the most recent in 2006. Today, the schooner is used to train naval midshipmen in seamanship, navigation, and leadership, homeported in Brest, France. Laval Pool is escorted by the Hampton Yacht Club. The history of the Hampton Yacht Club is deeply intertwined with the maritime heritages of the Chesapeake Bay. The club's roots trace back to 1903, when local boating enthusiasts founded Virginia Yacht Club, establishing a clubhouse on pilings at the foot of Victoria Boulevard. However, interest dwindled during World War I, and the original facilities fell into disrepair. In 1926, local men who were determined to revive the area's competitive boating scene formed the modern Hampton Yacht Club, acquiring the property of the old club. Since then, Hampton Yacht Club has grown into a prominent yachting and social anchor of the Virginia Peninsula, hosting legendary powerboat races like the Virginia Gold Cup and the Hampton Club Regatta. After decades after resting, the club has shifted its primary purpose towards sailing innovation and youth development, leaving a lasting mark on the sport. In the mid-1930s, looking for a swift, affordable boat tailored to the shallow waters of the Chesapeake, Hampton Yacht commissioned a local boat builder, Vincent Serio, to design a new vessel. The result was the iconic Hampton 1 design, an 18-foot sloop that went on to spark a massive racing culture and massive fleets across the East Coast. The club established its junior sailing program in 1950, which has since produced collegiate All-Americans, Olympic trial contenders, and world champions. Today, operating from its facility on Hampton Creek, the club remains a thriving, family-oriented center that balances a robust schedule of regional regattas with a tight-knit community of cruising and racing families. Let's talk about taking a piece of all of this home with you. Official Sail 250 Virginia merchandise is available right here on site. And if you haven't stopped by one of the merchandise locations yet, please do before you leave today. You'll find them at Front Street as well as Town Point Park. and a word to the wise, the limited edition items go fast, and once they're gone, they're gone. One item is especially worth checking out. Sail 250 Virginia commissioned a stunning original oil painting called History on the Wind, created by Patrick O'Brien, president of the American Society of Marine Artists. The painting brings together some of the most iconic vessels connected to this event and to America's story. The United States Coast Guard Eagle, the Godspeed, the Amistad, and the Chesapeake, representing the Navy's original 6 frigates. This genuinely Pacific, beautiful piece of work. Giclée prints, signed and numbered, as well as posters are available through the Harbor Gallery, both on-site and online at harborgallery.com. For apparel, exercise, accessories, and collectible checkout, what this official merchandise partnership has produced, everything from Helly Hansen activewear, Yeti Ramblers to ceramic and enamel drinkware. The full official collection is available at Sail 250 Virginia, VAShop.com, and at merchandise locations throughout the festival footprint here in Norfolk and at the affiliate harbors across the region. This is a once-in-a-generation event. The keepsakes are surely worth it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Peru's tall ship, the BAP Union, is one of the world's newest sail training vessels. The vessel is a 4-masted bark which had its keel laid on December the 8th, 2012. Its tallest mast towers more than 179 feet into the air. It was commissioned in 2016 and has since sailed both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans with cadets from Peru's Navy. So make sure to stop by Outer Berth during the festival to see Union and its beautiful figurehead, which depicts the Emperor Tupac Inca Yupanc positioned over a 12-cornered stone. The Emperor is wearing a checkered cloth and cape depicting ocean waves, as well as knee guards made of puma heads, a sacred animal in Inca culture. His shield holds images of 2 rhombuses that represent the Inca Empire. The Union is named after one of the Peruvian Navy's most famous 19th century ships, a corvette of the same name that fought in the 1879-1883 War of the Pacific under the command of Peru's naval hero, Grand Admiral Miguel Grau Seminario. The ship's last visit to Norfolk was for Harborfest 2017. The Union is a bark, a sailing vessel with 3 or more masts, with the mast closest to the stern rigged with sails that run fore and aft, parallel with the keel, while the sails on all the other forward masts are square sails that hang from yards. Headquartered in Callao, Peru.
Something you might not have expected to hear at a tall ship parade. There's world-class soccer happening this weekend, and we do mean world-class. Tomorrow morning at Cutter Park in the Naval Base, near the Naval Base, opens its gates for the Sail 250 International Soccer Tournament, and it is something to behold. 36 teams, 17 countries, 5 continents, all competing right here in Hampton Roads. Who's playing? The crews of the various ships you're watching sail past today. Sailors and cadets from the international tall ships, 4 naval vessels participating in FleetX, NATO Joint Forces Command, and the U.S. Ships and Commands right here in Hampton Roads. This is the most internationally diverse soccer tournament ever staged at a tall ship event in Norfolk, and the largest tournament at any of the 5 Sail 250 national ports this year. The format is 7-on-7, with group play running all day Saturday and into Sunday morning, followed by single elimination rounds. Championship final is Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. And it's completely free and open to the public. Parking is available at the athletic fields or taking an Uber or Lyft. Gates open at 8 a.m. both days. Bring a folding chair, grab something from the Navy MWR concessions on site, and spend the morning watching sailors from Uruguay, Colombia, India, Germany, Portugal, and a dozen other nations compete on the pitch the same way they compete on the water with pride. Interested, the full schedule and teams are at sail250virginia.com/soccer.
The Sultana is a historic replica schooner which sails for the Sultana Education Foundation out of Chestertown, Maryland. The original Sultana was built in Boston, Massachusetts in 1767 as a small cargo vessel and yacht, but was soon sailed to England, where the Royal Navy took the schooner into service as a revenue cutter. The schooner sailed back to the American colonies, where it enforced the Townshend Act, which imposed duties on tea, paper, paint, lead, and other items being imported into the American colonies. The construction and continued operation of Sultana is a community-driven operation. Classes on ship construction, rigging, and sailmaking were offered as public programming during the construction phase, and Sultana Downrigging Weekend has become a highly successful annual event, bringing tall ships from the Mid-Atlantic region to the small eastern shore town in Maryland to celebrate the successful end to each sailing season. Sailing on the schooner in the Chesapeake River of Chesapeake Bay allows elementary through college-age students to visualize history, study marine science, and put mathematics to practical use in a maritime environment. More than 5,000 students sail aboard the Sultana each year with additional programming on canoes and kayaks now offered by the organization. The home port for the Sultana is Chestertown, Maryland.
And coming up is the Oosterschelde that hails from Rotterdam, Netherlands. Her name is derived from the eastern part of the Schelde River that flows from France through Belgium and the Netherlands to the sea. The square topsail schooner was built in 1917 as a cargo vessel, one of nearly 500 vessels of similar design built in the Netherlands at that time. As a freighter, Oosterschelde carried some 100 tons of cargo, including bricks, herring, and bananas. She is now the last example of this style of sailing vessel still in operation under the Dutch flag. During World War II, the Oosterschelde was struck by a magnetic mine, nearly sinking it. However, she was repaired, and in 1962, the sailing rig was removed and the schooner converted to a modern coastal trader powered by diesel engine. After more than 70 years of active service, the Oosterschelde returned to the Netherlands in 1988, undergoing a major refit and began sailing again in 1992. The Oosterschelde has since made numerous long voyages, including circumnavigation between 2024 and 2025, following the route of Charles Darwin's voyage on the Beagle. As the largest restored Dutch sailing ship, she's a monument for the Dutch shipbuilding and maritime navigation under sail. She is a unique and one of a kind. The home port is Rotterdam.
We missed the Sea Cloud and the Wild Hare. Sea Cloud's a 35-foot Silverton built in 2007, skippered by John and Courtney Pritchard. The vessel hails from Wright-Cotton Marine here in Norfolk. This is John and Courtney's third parade of sail. Wild Hare is a 51-foot Sea Ray owned by Kurt Kaufman. He attended St. Mary's College, earning a degree in biology before running off to sea aboard tall ships. Angela came up through the hawse pipe, meaning she became a captain by starting as a deckhand and working her way up through the ranks at sea, rather by attending a maritime college. She met her husband while sailing aboard the tall ship Lynx. After a long time, Maryland Dove Captain Will Cakes retired. Angela moved back to where she started to take the helm as Dove's captain. She and her husband are now raising the next generation of tall ship sailors with their 18-month-old son added to the crew. Home port in St. Mary's City, Maryland. Maryland Dove and Oyster Shop escorted by the Cavalier Golf and Yacht Club. In 1947, the facilities at Bird Neck Point in Virginia Beach were renamed the Cavalier Yacht and Country Club, building on the base of an earlier golf course and hotel. By the summer of 1952, the club was considered to be one of the Mid-South's major yacht clubs, its marina accommodating some 75 yachts and cruisers on the dual 200-foot-long piers. The dedication of the members of the club, coupled with their commitment to maintaining its heritage, will keep the Cavalier Golf and Yacht Club improving and reinventing itself towards better serving its membership for years and years to come.
And now coming into view off of Town Point Park, the three-masted bark, the ARC Gloria, the sail training vessel of the Colombian Navy. Built in Spain, it was commissioned on September 7, 1968. The bark was the inspiration of the Colombian Navy's commander, Vice Admiral Orlando Lamatre Torres, who lobbied heavily for the ship's construction. The Minister of Defense, General Gabriel Ribes Pizarro, was finally convinced to support the project, famously writing on a cocktail napkin, Vale por un velero, or, translated, good for one sailboat, a promise which was fulfilled with the construction of Gloria. In appreciation, the ship was named for General Base's wife, Gloria. She often attends tall ship events and regattas as an international ambassador for Colombia and has been a regular visitor to Norfolk. She is one of 4 similar barks built as sail training vessels for Latin American navies. Her half-sisters are the Mexican Cuauhtémoc, the Venezuelan Simón Bolívar, and the Ecuadorian Guayas. You will get to see Guayas a little later in the parade today. And escorting the Gloria is the Broad Bay Sailing Association. It was formed in 1958 by a group of sailors seeking informal racing on Lincoln and Broad Bays in Virginia Beach in various types of small boats. To add a little spice to their endeavor, they built or purchased a few 11-foot penguins and 16-foot comets, which, along with several Hampton 1 designs, the nucleus of the Broad Bay fleet. The emphasis was on Sunday afternoon racing, monthly meetings at the members' homes, and numerous cookouts at the Narrows, to which they generally sailed from points around Lincoln and Broad Bay. Gradually, the Broad Bay Sailing Association evolved into the current BBSA with its racing fleets, Willoughby Bay, Little Creek Racers, and Hobie Fleet 32, and its large contingent of cruisers and day sailors. Big Boat Racing took on a whole new meaning with the sponsorship of the Leo Wardrop Memorial Cape Charles Cup, with its 2-day race to Cape Charles and back. Other distance races include the Cape Henry Cup and the Neptune Regatta. A good portion of the BBSA members cruise and race, while others stick to their chosen activity. As the club grew, it focused on all types of sailors who want to do what they love best with a congenial group of friends. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're being entertained by the crew of the Gloria.
to get secreted aboard one of the steamships that left from Norfolk. Two conductors on the Underground Railroad helped her to hide aboard the ship, dressed as a man. She made it safely to New Bedford, where she was reunited not only with her two brothers, but also with her father, her sister who had escaped earlier, and her brother-in-law. Another person I hope you'll meet is Eliza McCoy. She was the wife of a man named Robert McCoy, who left from Norfolk and went to Philadelphia in November of 1854. So hopefully you'll learn a lot about their escape and how right there at City Hall, that used to be called Hall Slave Jail, and they escaped from there aboard a schooner and made their way to Philadelphia and eventually to Canada, where they lived the rest of their lives. Oh, here is the Norfolk Rebel right across from us. It's been a mainstay at almost every maritime festival in Norfolk since her christening in 1980. She is the world's only sail-assisted tugboat and a harbinger of today's reintroduction of sail power to commercial shipping. Her builder and original captain, Lane Briggs, was instrumental in creating the first Norfolk Harbor Fest and Great Chesapeake Bay Schooner Race events. Although Lane passed away in 2006, the tugget team sails on, captained by his son Steve Briggs, part of a strong family maritime tradition that includes several war captains. This distinctive boat is unique in the traditional sailing community and an example of the innovation that has helped ship design evolve through time. Norfolk is its home port.
Coming along on our right is the Maryland Dove. In 1634, the Ark and the Dove sailed to Chesapeake Bay from England, establishing the colony of Maryland. Maryland Dove is a reproduction of the smaller of those two ships, and the second reproduction to have that name. The replica was built at Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum and launched in 2022. It is home ported in historic St. Mary's City, a living history museum in southern Maryland.
from various parts of the rigging. Let's talk about what they all mean. Every ship has the flag of their nation flying at the stern of the ship. This national flag, flown from that position, is called their ensign. They also fly a courtesy flag of the country or state that they are visiting. So look for an American flag in the mix on vessels from other countries. These ships also receive a flag for the Sail 250 Virginia event, which we are proud to see up aloft today. The organization that owns the ship or the captain themselves may have an individual flag that they fly on the ship. There are also functional nautical signal flags that may be used. The ship may have a group of flags that are code for their call sign, or a letter H flag. That's a square that is half white and half red. If you see that flag, it means that the ship is carrying a pilot aboard. So thanks again to the Virginia Pilots Association for filling this important role guiding large ships through our harbor. And depending upon what the wind is doing, a ship can't always operate under sail in a confined space like a river or a harbor. Some ships may have their sails furled up tight, others may have their sails hanging a bit to be visible, others may have sails stretch out but not filled with wind. It all depends on the rigging of the ship and the behavior of the breeze at the moment. And once the ships are tied up at their docks, they can't have the sails set or the ship would be trying to move. And that would be like trying to park your car in the driveway, but leaving it in gear and occasionally tapping the gas. Sailors take great pride in harbor furling their sails in the neatest possible manner when they arrive in port. You might glimpse some of them finishing up that process as they come to the docks today. And when coming into port, especially during the tall ships events, many modern naval square riggers will man the yards. All the crew not required on deck to handle the ship will go aloft and spread out along the yards, standing at attention while the ship sails along. This maneuver was historically used to display the crew to the harbor authorities and the other ships present to show that the ship's guns were not manned and hence her intentions were peaceful. Modern naval ships without masts to climb have evolved this tradition to manning the rail when the crew line the rails and superstructure when honors are being rendered. Here's some useful nautical nomenclature on a vessel. Sailors don't say left and right. They need more specific terms. Imagine yourself on the deck of a ship facing the front. Everything to your left side is to port. What's on your right is to starboard. Those names stay the same even when you turn to look behind you. It's like describing the driver's side of a car instead of saying the right side. Sailors also say forward and aback instead of in front of or behind. Every single rope and spar and spin and pin and plank on a ship has a specific name. You can learn about some of those on the ship tours during the festival. If you learn all those names, we can say you know the ropes. That common saying comes straight from the sailor's process of getting familiar with the lines on a new vessel.
All right, that barge, the vessel out there just honking its horn is called the Gazela Primero. It was built in Setúbal, Portugal in 1901. Jack was there in 1901 for the Grand Banks fishing industry.
I was there, 1901.
It makes a majestic wooden barkentine, 125 years old, the oldest in attendance this year, and a direct reflection of the sailing history of the fishing fleet that used to fill ports on both sides of the Atlantic. With a crew of about 40 men and about 35 dories, a type of small fishing boat hired by oars, the Gazella would spend months each year fishing for cod on the Grand Banks of Newfoundland, Canada. The ship would harvest up to 350 tons of fish, packing it in salt in the hold to preserve it during the remainder of the voyage. She was originally built without an engine, crossing the ocean and maneuvering for fishing entirely under the power of her sails. Gazella's last fishing voyage to the Grand Banks took place in 1969. Since 1971, the ship has been based on the waterfront in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, conducting educational programming. She also sails with a crew of volunteers to the maritime festivals, such as this, on the East Coast. Her rig is a barkentine, which means that the forwardmost mast is square rigged and other masts are fore and aft rigged. The style gives lots of flexibility for sailing various routes on the open sea and near the coast. Both board in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She is escorted by the Willoughby Racers. Willoughby Racers are a sailing club in Willoughby Bay which sails on Thursday nights during the summer months, offering spinnaker and non-spinnaker fleets. For 30 years, the club has raced with trophies and bragging rights. The club is based at Rebel Marine, home of the Tugatine they're sailing alongside.
And coming up is the King of Fun. The King of Fun is a 2005 Northern Marine. It's built in the Pacific Northwest. She is a 130-foot motor yacht. She cruises at around 10 knots with a top speed of approximately 15 to 16 knots and has a range of 6,000 nautical miles and has won an International Super Yacht Design Award for top 5 in her size in 2025. She sails to the Caribbean, the Bahamas, as well as throughout the East Coast. The King of Fun and the next tall ship is the Pride of Baltimore II and is being escorted by the Little Creek Racers. The Little Creek Racers trace their roots to the early 1990s when sailor Maury Jackson looked around Little Creek and couldn't believe so many boats were tied to the docks with no racing happening. His enthusiasm sparked what became the Little Creek Sailing Association, formed in late 1992. Early races were run with hand-scored results reported to the newspaper, volunteer committee votes, and the sailors gathering at Bay Point Grill to plan, celebrate, or hand out an occasional quickly grew more than 50 boats by 1995 with a shared commitment to getting as many sailors as possible on the starting line. In 1994, the LCSA officially came under the Barks Bay Sailing Association, gaining a stronger platform for growth. Little Creek sailors watched major regional Creek Racers carry forward that same grassroots spirit, a community built on enthusiasm, competition, and the belief that sailing is better when everyone is invited to join the fun.
Just for your information, saluting cannons. During the parade of sail today, the visiting ships will offer cannon salutes, as we just noted. These salutes will be answered by a scuba gun operated by a gun crew from the Jamestown settlement and led by Mr. Homer Lanier. We'd like to thank them for joining us today to help give this impressive fleet as they sail into port. The practice of ships and force filing gun salutes has existed for centuries. Starting in the 14th century, discharging cannons before entering a friendly port demonstrated that the ship's cannons were unloaded and didn't pose an immediate threat. In November 1776, the Continental Navy brigantine Andrea Doria fired a salute of 13 guns on entering the harbor of St. Eustatius in the West Indies. A few minutes later, the salute was returned by 9 guns, the customary salute rendered to a republic at that time. This occasion has been called the first salute to the American flag, although the flag the ship was flying was not yet the Stars and Stripes. The Andrea Doria was
The Pride of Baltimore, too, is a reproduction of a War of 1812 privateer. The square topsail schooner represents the ingenuity and talent of American shipbuilders from the Fells Point area of Baltimore, Maryland, who designed and built the Baltimore Clippers. The schooner was launched in 1988 and has sailed as an ambassador to China, Europe, and throughout the United States. Pride of Baltimore, too,'s mission is to educate the public on Maryland's maritime history, tradition, and commerce opportunities. She can accommodate up to 6 paying passengers as working guest crew between ports of call. The schooner is easy to recognize at a distance from her mast, but are right back at a very dramatic angle. Her home port, of course, is Baltimore, Maryland. Coming into view of Town Point Park, the INS Sudashini is a sail training vessel of the Indian Navy and was built in 2011-2012. Sudashini's steel hull was laid on 25 January 2011 on the west coast of India at the port town of Vasco da Gama. Goa, it was commissioned into the Indian Navy in January 2012. The Navy translates the name Sudashini to beautiful lady, inspired by Sundari, the half-sister of Buddha, and associates it with having a clear, beautiful vision for navigation. The ship is a floating ambassador for India, while simultaneously providing an educational platform for naval cadets undertaking seamanship and navigation training. The bark has sailed extensively throughout Southeast Asia, and this visit is part of the first ever transatlantic voyage for this vessel. Her home port is in Kochi, India. Where the Sudashini is homeported in Kochi, that is Norfolk's sister city, Kochi, India. Sudarshini and the MS Mirsha are being escorted by the Hampton Roads Fleet 30 Sailing Club, which was started 40 years ago as a Catalina 30 Club. It joined the National Catalina 30 Association and was given the regional designation of Catalina 30 Fleet 30. Its first official trip was a Mother's Day run to Waterside. The club was cruising. It was a cruising club meant to touch various destinations around Chesapeake Bay and thereby expanding horizons for the safety of the group. The club was an inclusive group and over the years grew from a small one-design club to over 100 boats of various lengths and makes and models, both sail and power. This prompted a change in the name from Catalina 30 Fleet 30 to Hampton Roads Fleet 30. Some of the sailors here today have been sailing with the club between 30 and 40 years. These Hampton Roads Fleet 30 are proud to represent their club for the celebration of the 250 years anniversary of the United States of America. And now, coming into view of the Town Point Park, the NS Bircha, built in Hamburg, Germany for the Romanian Armed Navy in 1938. During World War II, the vessel was captured by the USSR and was kept as a war reparation before being returned to Romania in 1946. The Mirsha is a bark, 3 masts, with square sails on the fore and main mast and fore and aft sails on the mizzen mast. The vessel was named after Bircha the Elder, a celebrated medieval ruler of Wallachia who reigned from 1386 to 1418. He was chosen as the namesake for the vessel for several reasons, including that under his rule, Wallachia's borders were expanded to the Black Sea, leading to a significant development in local navigation and sea trade. And he is famously remembered in Romania as the leader until the Great Sea, making him the perfect patron for a naval training vessel. The bark sails as the official vessel of the Romanian Navy and has participated in numerous sail training festivals and races throughout the world, including the 1976 U.S. Bicentennial in New York Harbor and more recent festivals across Europe. Bircha is the sister ship of the United States Coast Guard Bark Eagle, the Sawgrass from Portugal, and the Gorschbach from Germany. She is home ported in Constanta, Romania.
I'll finish up on the saluting cannons. The Embry Dory was flying the Grand Union flag, not the Stars and Stripes, with 13 alternated red and white stripes with a small British Union Jack in the upper left corner. The first official salute by a foreign nation to the new Stars and Stripes flag happened just over a year later, on 14 February 1776, when the Continental Navy ship Ranger, captained by John Paul Jones, fired 13 guns and received 9 in return from the French fleet anchored in Quiberon Bay, France. Many ships today carry at least a small signaling cannon for ceremonial purposes, and some historic ships also have working replicas of the cannon they would have carried in their era. Keeping an eye and ear out for these gun crews today as they keep up this nautical feature tradition.
To sail on a long voyage across an ocean or along a coast, a ship can't often stop. The water is often far too deep to anchor, or conditions may be stormy, or the ship may need to make faster progress toward their destination while the wind direction is favorable. To make this work, the sailors are divided into groups called watches that take turns operating the ship 24 hours a day. The number of watches and the exact schedule rotation may vary, but a core part of the life at sea on a traditional ship is being awake for a shift in the day and again at night. The fleet with us for Sail 250 Virginia represents a huge range of historic and modern sailing technology. Some are the equivalent of a horse and buggy. Others are more like a cargo truck, and others are F1 racers. The differences lie in the size and the shape of the hull and the number and configuration of masts and sails. You'll hear about schooners and full-rigged ships and barkentines and more. When you visit the ships this weekend, you'll get to learn more about each individual rig and why it was used on that vessel or in that era.
To the right, the starboard, as you just learned, is the Ecuadorian naval training vessel, the Guayas. It's a three-masted bark built in Spain and commissioned on July 23, 1977. The ship serves as an international ambassador for Ecuador while training naval cadets during extended voyages throughout the world. It is a regular participant in tall ship events and has sailed throughout North and South America, Asia, and even Australia. It was named jointly in honor of Chief Guayas, the legendary chief of the Guanavillas in the coastal plains of today's Ecuador. The Guayas River in Ecuador, Guayas, the first steamship that was constructed in South America in 1841. The Guayas is homeported in Guayaquil, Ecuador.
In addition to being entertained by the crew of the Vias, the crew is waving and saluting everyone at Mount Point Bar.
Y después morir, Carmelita, y después
new pride and joy of Greg and Mary Kahn, longtime participants at Harbor Fest and the parade sail. She sails out of Point Jock, North Carolina. They're also followed by the Tidewater Boat Club, private club of boating and fishing enthusiasts, is located at Knitting Mill Creek in Norfolk.
Since then, she's voyaged in New England and the Canadian Maritimes as a practical platform for MMA students to develop skills in seamanship, celestial navigation, and launch theory. Her home port is Castile, Maine.
Coming into port, especially during the tall ships events, many modern naval square riggers will man the yards. All the crew not required on deck to handle the ship will go aloft and spread out along the yards, standing at attention while the ship sails along. This maneuver was historically used to display the crew to the harbor authorities and other ships present to show, as we mentioned before, that the ship's guns were not manned and her intentions were peaceful. Now modern naval ships without masts to climb have evolved the tradition into manning the rail. When the crew line the rails and superstructure when honors are being rendered. Coming into view off at Chalkway Park now, the Lady Maryland is a uniquely Chesapeake Bay vessel. This funky schooner is typical of bay cargo schooners from the late 19th and early 20th century. Fungies have a hull formed similar to the famous Baltimore Clippers. This design makes them extremely fast and well suited for their original mission of carrying cargo like coal, lumber, agricultural products, and lamp oil around the region. She sports an instantly recognizable pink and green hull paint scheme that was popular at the time. Today, the schooner sails for Living Classroom Foundation in Baltimore, conducting environmental and educational programs. Lady Maryland was built in 1986 to provide students with a hands-on opportunity to sail an historic vessel and learn about the ecology, the history, and the economics of the bay and the waters off the northeast coast of the United States. So Lady Maryland, her home port is Baltimore, Maryland.
Interesting pieces of fact for tall ships, the types of ship rigging. The fleet with the Sail 250 Virginia represents a huge range of historic and modern sailing technology. Some are the equivalent of a horse and buggy, others are more like a cargo truck, and even others are F1 racers. The differences lie in the size and shape of the hull, and the number of configuration of masts and sails. You'll hear about schooners and full-rig ships and barkentines and more. When you visit the ships this weekend, you'll get to learn more about each individual rig and why it was used on that vessel or in that era.
And we would like to extend our sincere thanks to each of these companies whose tugboats you will see assisting our vessels to their docks today. They also help behind-the-scenes maneuvers throughout the event to keep things rolling smoothly. And those companies that we'd like to extend our sincere thanks to include W.F. McGann, the Crofton Industries, Hodges and Hodges Enterprises, Robbins Maritime, Intercoastal Marine, and McAllister Towing. A sincere thanks to each of these companies.
If you can all take a look upriver, you'll find a beautiful, beautiful picture. This is kind of like the wine in Cana. The best is last. We've got all those tall ships looking down for 2 miles down the river to take a look at them. That is so, I've never seen anything as impressive as that from a tall ship standpoint. Coming into view right now is the vessel for the Navy of Uruguay, the Capitan Miranda. The ship was built in 1930 and originally served as a geographical survey ship. Retired from that role, it was converted to a 3-masted schooner and re-entered service in 1978. Capitan Miranda sails the world as an ambassador for Uruguay while serving as a training platform for the country's naval cadets. She is named after the Uruguayan hydrographer, Captain Francisco Miranda, who lived from 1868 to 1925. He served Uruguay as a cabinet officer, war secretary, and later as a professor of marine geography at the Naval Academy of Uruguay. His home port in Montevideo, Uruguay.
Lady Maryland and the Capitan Miranda being escorted by the Corinthians, established in 1934 with the goals of promoting sailing, fostering fellowship, and connecting sailors. The Corinthians have grown into a distributed yacht and sailing club all along the East Coast with 4 fleets. Their activities include races, local and regional cruises, games, seminars, ad hoc celebrations of sailing, all of which build camaraderie. A major tradition is the Corinthians Association annual cruise. Held in late July to early August period, it is truly a movable feast of sailing and camaraderie entered in areas from Chesapeake to Maine. This year it will roam Buzzards Bay to Vineyard Sound and the islands. Many members exploit participation in the annual cruise and then jump off and explore a wider area than outside of their normal range. The Corinthians has a long-term relationship with the Little Ship Club in the UK. This club, celebrating its centennial this year, was established to commemorate the heroism of the fleet of private little ships that retrieved UK forces from the Dunkirk beaches at the onset of World War II. The 2 clubs held joint activities on a semi-yearly basis. This year, a joint Amical Loyalist colony cruise was held in the Bahamas with 87 sailors from the UK and the United States.
regiments that were based here in Norfolk and in Portsmouth, the 36th, 37th, and 38th Colored Infantry that were part of the United States Colored Troops. These are the troops that saw action in the Battle of Chapin's Farm, Newmarket Heights, Deep Bottom, and other areas. They were the ones who were sent to Texas, to Brownsville, to the Rio Grande, to Brazos, Santiago, Indianola, and to Galveston, Texas. And those were the men who made sure that those who were in Texas found their freedom, and that is why we celebrate today as being the conclusion of the Civil War, June 19, 1865, and here we are many years later. Waiting for the next ship, I want to remind everyone that Juneteenth really represents for America a slow, difficult, and complicated walk toward freedom, especially for African Americans, a walk that was not experienced by many others in America. That's why celebrating this enduring story of freedom in America is critical to really understanding and appreciating this American experiment we call the United States of America. It is understanding and celebrating Juneteenth that all of us really get an opportunity to delve into America's legacy of its enduring freedom.
Is the sail training vessel of Portugal's Navy, the Sagres. A bark was built at the famous Bloom and Bosch shipyard in Hamburg, Germany. Sagres is a sister ship of the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Eagle, U.S. Coast Guard bark Eagle, and the Romanian tall ship Mercy. The ship was taken as a war prize by the U.S. following World War I before being transferred to the service in the Brazilian Navy. Portugal bought the vessel in 1961 when it took on its current name and mission. Sagres sails with a crew of Navy cadets who undertake lessons in seamanship, navigation, and leadership. In 2010, Sagres sailed more than 35,000 nautical miles during a global circumnavigation. Sagres is easy to recognize from a distance with her square sails emblazoned with the Order of the Christ Cross, which was used on sails of many Portuguese ships from the 15th century onwards. It was a symbol of the military order of Christ, of which Prince Henry the Navigator was regent and governor. This royal backing constituted an important economic support and made possible the beginning of Portuguese exploration by sea. The ship was home-ported in Lisbon, Portugal. Sagres is escorted by Norfolk Naval Sailing Association with the motto, "Where Navy Sailing Began." They are located at the Norfolk Naval Training Sailing Center aboard the Norfolk Naval Base and the oldest member of the U.S. Naval Sailing Association. The Norfolk Sailing Association provides a forum for the hardiest souls in life, mariners, cruising, racing, or just talking about boats, and of course, galley fare.
After the sale of ships, I want to remind everyone of upcoming events. So the Front Street stage schedule is at 2:30. They have the Juju drum, which are steel drums that will be performing. At 4:15, the Monarch Band, which is folk rock. At 6 p.m., the Hot Gumbo Brass Band. And at 8 p.m., the Grupo Ritmo Sun, which is a Latin group. Right here, I want to remind everyone that there are lots of activities going on at Monica's. Please go ahead once the sale of ships has completed and take the time to visit some of the exhibits that are free and open to the public right there at Monica's. And for those of you who are sticking around for later on this evening, please make sure that you come to the main stage and see Patti LaBelle and the Sledge Sisters, as well as a special performance by Norfolk State University's singers who will be singing an original song entitled Juneteenth that was written by Mark Carter.
Sail 250 Virginia represents 100% regional cooperation across 12 localities. Every corner of the Chesapeake Bay region has a role in this. Civic, community, and business leaders came together from Alexandria in the north to Cape Charles and Onancock on the eastern shore, from Richmond and on the James River to Smithfield and Isle of Wight, to the communities of the Northern Neck and everywhere in between. Yorktown, Hampton, Portsmouth, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, and right here in Norfolk. Over 10 days, Sail 250 in Virginia organizers project more than 3 million visitors across these 12 localities, roughly 1 in 3 coming from out of state, with a potential economic impact exceeding $150 million for the Commonwealth. And behind all of it, more than 4,000 personnel involved in planning, safety, maritime operations, and logistics. Work groups covering everything from port operations and security to education, history, marketing, and economic development. This event has been year coming into view now
is the Libertad. It sails the world as a training vessel and a floating ambassador for Argentina. The ship was launched in 1956 in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and commissioned in 1963. The Libertad is a beautiful ship. It's a full-rigged ship with square sails on all three masts. The ship has participated in numerous tall ship events, including opsail events in the U.S. in 1964, 1976, 1986, 1992, and 2012. Its home port is Buenos Aires, Argentina.
No los alcanzaron. Tres botellas.
I can give you a hand.
Give me a hand. Right here, hold it.
She's going to come down that mountain.
Well, yeah, but it's gonna take her a minute.
Maybe 2 minutes. of Town Point Park now, a very familiar figure. The American Rover, a three-masted topsail schooner, celebrating her 40th anniversary season. Her hull was built in Panama City, Florida, and she was fitted out in Norfolk since 1986. She has operated from waterside in downtown Norfolk, offering harbor tours, sunset sails, field trips, special events, and private parties. Her distinctive red sails are an icon on the Virginia waterfront. And we all very much know her home port right down the water here in Norfolk, Virginia. The American Rover. As we await the arrival of the next tall ship, this weekend also marks a milestone for Norfolk itself, Lights Over Norfolk. An avid waterman who surfs, fishes, and kayaks throughout the Chesapeake Bay, Brian draws his inspiration from the heavy waters and coastal light you're looking at right now. It shows in the work. Commemorative posters are available this weekend at the Jones Art Gallery tent. It is a beautiful keepsake for a milestone year.
y'all have
Here's the
a good
festival
day.
map.
A map?
Yeah, the map.
So it's going to be at the center of this. It'll fold out for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's what I came for. Maybe the Scotch team from Norfolk.
Even come a little further.
You and John and Curtis.
All right, coming into view is the Dharma Logie. Escorting the Dharma Logie is the Tidewater Brady White Owners Club, which has a current membership of about 65 Brady White boats of various sizes, configurations, and ages. The club is focused on enjoying the water, promoting boating safety and camaraderie. They also enjoy strong support from Brady White boats. The club organizes a variety of events, including day cruises and steamer passages, meetups, the numerous fishing tournaments, and an annual holiday party. Now, the Dharma Logie sails for Gdynia Maritime Academy in Poland. The ship's name means the gift of youth. The ship was built at the Gdańsk shipyard in Poland in 1982. She is a full-rigged ship with square sails on all of her masts. In 1987-88, the Dharma Logie made a circumnavigation of the Earth, sailing 36,352 nautical miles in 274 days. The ship conducts underway education for the Academy's cadets as well as youth sail training for Polish and international students. She's participated in numerous tall ship races and festivals around the world, and we are happy to welcome her back to Norfolk for Sail 250 Virginia.
Yes.
Her home port is Gdynia, Poland.
I was thinking about that. If we change the schedule of everything now that we're yeah.
Right behind the Dharma Lodge is the Victory Rover, a converted oil rig service vessel refitted and updated at Seacraft Shipyard in Louisiana in 2001 and put into service by Rover Cruises at Nauticus in spring of 2001 in conjunction with the arrival of the battleship Wisconsin to the downtown Norfolk waterfront. A regular schedule of 2-hour narrated naval-based cruises departs March through December and offer the best way to tour the Port of Virginia and Naval Station Norfolk, the world's largest naval base. The captain offers an expert narration about all the impressive sights that guests will see during the tour. Home ported, obviously, right here in Norfolk. And escorting the Diamond Lodge and the Victory Rover, the Sea Scouts Commodore's Cruise Invitational is an 8-day high-adventure cruise for Sea Scouts from all backgrounds to unite with their sailing friends at a single port and then set sail together. Each year, in addition to sailing fun and ranking action, their cruise includes a historical theme. For 2026, they explore the exciting history of fellowship, including the opportunity to sail around the country, honoring the usage of settlers with the Golden Age of sail.
You have not had a chance. All right, the others are first come, first served. Go ahead and grab them. We're going to do 5 rounds, so we're only on number 3. So you've got lots of chances to go ahead and practice for 1 minute. Practice. What's your name? We got Dora next to Samuel. Dora is here. She's our second champion.
Sorry. Do you know at what time it will be open? Okay, thank you.